Every person on that plane died, except her. Vesna Vulović was a 22-year-old flight attendant, 8 months into her job, and she wasn't even supposed to be on that flight. The airline confused her with someone else who had the exact same first name. That one mistake made her the most unbelievable survivor in human history. January 26, 1972, JAT Flight 367, flying from Stockholm to Belgrade, stop over in Copenhagen, then Zagreb. The crew boarded the plane at Copenhagen Airport. Passengers got on. Doors closed. The flight took off at 3:15 p.m. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you something about that morning. The captain of the flight spent almost 24 hours locked alone in his hotel room the night before. Wouldn't come out. Wouldn't say why. The whole crew felt strange. Like something was wrong, but nobody could say what. Nobody knew it then, but something was very wrong. The last thing Vesna remembered was walking through the rear door of the plane and seeing a few women cleaning the cabin. After that, nothing. 4:01 p.m., 46 minutes after takeoff, a bomb exploded in the luggage compartment of JAT Flight 367. Not an accident, not a technical failure, a briefcase bomb, planted deliberately by a Croatian nationalist terrorist group. The explosion tore the plane into 3 pieces, mid-air. At 33,000 feet, let me put that in perspective. Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, is 29,000 feet. This plane exploded higher than that, 6 miles above the ground, in temperatures of -50 degrees, where the air is so thin a person loses consciousness in seconds. As the cabin depressurized, passengers and crew were thrown into the freezing sky. All 27 of them fell. None of them survived. Every single person on that plane died, except one. That evening, a local villager named Bruno Honka heard screaming from a hillside near his village. He went to investigate. He found the wreckage of a plane scattered across a snowy mountainside. Bodies, debris, wreckage everywhere, and then something that made absolutely no sense. A woman. Alive. Barely, but alive. Wearing a bloodstained turquoise flight attendant uniform. No shoes. Unconscious on the ground. Half inside the wreckage and half outside it. Bruno Honka was not just any villager. He was a former World War II medic. He stabilized her right there on that mountainside and kept her alive until help arrived. If he hadn't heard those sounds that evening, if he had been anyone else without medical training, that's it. Story over. But he did hear them, and he was exactly the right person. Vesna was rushed to a hospital in Prague. Fractured skull, 3 broken vertebrae, broken legs, broken ribs, fractured pelvis, brain hemorrhage, complete paralysis from the waist down. Doctors pulled her parents aside and told them she will not survive the night. She survived the night. She spent days in a coma. When she finally woke up, she had no memory of anything. Her last memory was boarding the plane. Her next memory was her parents standing over her hospital bed. She looked at them, asked what happened. They told her she had fallen from a plane. She didn't believe them. And then, the first thing she asked for after waking up from a coma that doctors said she would never come out of was a cigarette. That's the kind of woman Vesna Vulović was. Now, the question everyone asked, how? How does a human being survive falling 6 miles from an exploding plane with absolutely nothing to slow them down? The answer is 5 things. 5 factors that all had to happen at exactly the same time. Change any one of them, and Vesna doesn't make it. Factor 1. A food cart pinned her body to the floor the moment the explosion happened. She wasn't thrown out like everyone else. Factor 2, the section of the plane she was in separated from the rest of the wreckage and fell as one piece at a specific angle, almost like a wing gliding down. This slowed the fall. Factor 3, it crashed into a heavily wooded area covered in deep snow. The trees broke the impact. The snow cushioned the landing. Open, flat ground, completely different story. Factor 4, Vesna naturally had very low blood pressure her entire life, something that almost stopped her from becoming a flight attendant in the first place. Airlines didn't like it, but doctors said this is exactly what stopped her heart from bursting on impact. Her own body saved her. Factor 5, she remembered nothing. No fear, no panic, no tensing up, and a completely relaxed body absorbs impact very differently from a tense one. 5 factors. All 5 had to line up at exactly the same moment, and somehow they did. Within 10 months of the crash, Vesna Vulović was walking again. 10 months after a fractured skull, broken vertebrae, complete paralysis, brain hemorrhage, walking. Her doctors had genuinely never seen anything like it. During one surgery, she actually woke up while they were still operating on her. Eyes open, fully conscious, on the operating table. When asked how she recovered so fast from injuries that should have killed her 3 times over, she said it was her Serbian stubbornness and a childhood diet of chocolate, spinach, and fish oil. She went back to the airline. They gave her a desk job. They felt her presence on actual flights would cause too much attention. She negotiated freight contracts, quietly, behind a desk, the most unbreakable woman alive, doing paperwork. In 1985, 13 years after the crash, Vesna Vulović was officially entered into the Guinness Book of World Records. Highest falls survived without a parachute. 33,330 feet, 6 miles, no parachute. A record that to this day, more than 50 years later, has never been broken. Not once. And here's the detail that makes this story complete. Vesna became a flight attendant in the first place because she loved the Beatles. Obsessively, she wanted to travel to the cities they had walked in, stay in the hotels they had stayed in. That was genuinely part of her motivation for joining the airline. Who presented her with her Guinness World Record certificate and medal? Paul McCartney. Of the Beatles, the woman who chased the world because of the Beatles, received the greatest recognition of her life from the hand of a Beatle. Sometimes, life writes better stories than anyone could make up. But Vesna wasn't done. After the crash, after the coma, after learning to walk again, after the desk job and the world record, she became a political activist. Yugoslavia in the 1990s was a country tearing itself apart with nationalism and conflict. Vesna hated it. She took part in protests against the country's president, Slobodan Milosevic, and she got fired from her airline job because of it. The woman who survived falling 6 miles from the sky, fired for standing up for what she believed in. She didn't stop. She kept speaking, kept fighting until the very end. She told the New York Times, "I am like a cat. I have had 9 lives. But the politics in this country are making me tired. My heart can't take much more." Her heart, the very heart that doctors said should have burst on impact in 1972, was broken not by a fall from 33,000 feet, but by watching her country destroy itself. Vesna Vulović died on December 23rd, 2016. She was 66 years old. She held that world record until her very last day on Earth, the highest fall ever survived without a parachute, set in 1972, never broken. A 22-year-old woman who wasn't supposed to be on that flight, who fell 6 miles, who woke up from a coma asking for a cigarette, who walked again in 10 months, who received a world record from a beetle, who fought for democracy until she was fired for it. Vesna Vulović didn't just survive the unsurvivable, she lived like it. That's it for today on The Past. Yeah, subscribe.